Hello and welcome. While it might be the season for Alfonso mangoes, but we have a surprise. An orange. An orange no one quite saw coming. Definitely not an orange that you'd want to peel, but something that would even want to make big boys like you and me squeal. One that is slotted perfectly between the Duke twins. A bit of both, its younger and its elder sibling. The all-new KTM Duke 250. Now I know a lot of you have already watched the performance review of the Duke 250, but for the ones who haven't, the link is right here. Obviously Sergeant Schildiger doing what he does best. But the question for today remains, how good is the Duke 250 as your everyday small little big bike? My name is Atul and it is time to get going. But before I could get too far, I had to get through this traffic. Although heavier than the 200, the 250 handles sharp even on congested roads. The suspension is firm and well damped. The old Duke 390's front forks were too stiff while the rear shock was too soft. This though has some great balance with separate function forks that have been lowered along with a separate chamber for oil and gas in the rear mono. Now the Duke twins were notorious for two problems. The first one being the amount of heat that they would throw on your legs, and the second one being that once they would accidentally stall, they would refuse to start. The Duke 250 does get a little hot, but I think that is bearable. What is unbearable though is that it tends to stall quite a bit when hot, and the radiator fan might stay on all the time, which I think is plain annoying. But find an empty stretch and the Duke 250 cools down really fast and will make you forget every trouble. Because the level of refinement on this bike is great, so much that it feels like a complete new motorcycle. The gearbox feels smooth and a slipper clutch means no blipping on downshifts and less clutch work when riding in traffic. The ergos are sportier than before, but not too extreme. You don't have to fight the seat height as much. I'm 5'7" and could comfortably keep one foot down with the other on the brake pedal. The handlebars are spaced well. The wide seat and the revised seating position feels relaxed and takes the weight off your wrists and back, unlike the old 390, which felt cramped for space. So when you're finally reaching work, you aren't reaching with an aching back. And if you manage to finish your work early, well, fret not. You can always head out riding and will definitely not be punished for spending in time soaking in the beauty of this motorcycle. The Super Duke inspired styling is indeed muscular. The rear tail light is a thing of beauty and similar to the new Duke 390. The headlamp though, it's not the same. You get a single halogen setup combined with these LED DRLs, which honestly does not look out of place, and if you ask me, it looks quite beautiful. The paint on the KTM Duke 250 is also a special fade resistant and UV protected, is what KTM tells us. So if any of our PD Army comrades watching this video right now already have the Duke 250, well, type in those comment section below and let us know if it works for you. Okay, enough of that talking now. It's time for me to head home. That's when you realize that the key lock switch position has changed. And that reminds me that I should also highlight that we don't get the new TFT LCD screen as on the 390. This, along with the LED headlights, the ride-by-wire and the ABS, unfortunately cannot be retrofitted on the 250. And this is because of the complex systems of wires and sensors linked to them and can only be put together at the factory floor. The power delivery is a little lacking low down up to 4000 RPM, and you will see yourself doing some downshifts if you intend to coast in low speeds. But the larger rear sprocket ensures that the gearing feels more spread out to meet the rev range than on. Third gear is a breeze in the city, and the fourth gear takes you all the way from 30 km per hour to 70, which is impressive. What isn't impressive is this strange blank spot at about 5500 RPM, where the bike toughs before it leaps ahead, which makes you feel that power delivery is a little laggy. Well, apart from that, the on-off fueling throttle transitions, which were snatchy on the 390, have been completely balanced in the 250. And the addition of the BS4 exhaust This not only makes for a very silent riding experience, it has also helped improve the ground clearance of the bike, which means I no longer have to think twice before putting the 250 through a bumpy patch of road. But more on that, well, tomorrow. Because commuting is hardly a reason why you'd own a motorcycle like this. Now, the earlier Duke twins were popular bikes, but never really made the best touring motorcycles. And this was due to reasons such as their smaller tank, which resulted in lower fuel range, poor comfort for the pillion and the rider, especially on long rides, and their inability to carry large luggage like this. Now, for someone like me who likes to travel a wee bit on the heavier side and also like to do a bit of the twisties, the question that now needs to be answered is, can the 250 tour? The rear tailpiece has been extended, so even under max load, the tail will never foul with the tires, as was the case with the earlier Dukes. The increased tail height also means that you can now add bigger saddlebags without worrying, along with your magnetic tank bags, as the 250 now gets a metal tank. The subframe is also removable and should make it easy to replace in case of any damage, and probably sets the base for the much awaited 390 Adventure variant. This is also where the MRF tires have an advantage of not just being cost efficient, but will also last a lot longer without a huge compromise on grip. And grip does help while you comfortably cruise over 100 km per hour in 6th gear, while you enjoy the plush ride quality and the world go by. What will make for even more carefree touring is this. The 250 also has its components protected in places where it matters. You get a sturdier radiator with side covers, hard plastic flaps for the forks and the rear mono, without it all looking too busy. Even the underbelly section gets a brand new design thanks to the rerouted exhaust, and you will now enjoy increased ground clearance, while it will also make it easier to fit aftermarket bash plates. While this does not get the handguards by default, you can retrofit the ones from the Duke 390. And damn right it can. With this all-new 13.5 litre tank and better bolstered seating, I can go that much further without an aching backside. The bars are wide and the mirrors have good view. Also, the rear subframe has many more exposed bits, which means you can now mount a lot more luggage, and this does not hamper pillion riding experience, which means you can actually get someone along without them having to crib about rear comfort. Now everything looks good except for one sore point, and that's braking. Now, for a motorcycle that moves quicker than a Duke 200, the absence of ABS, even as an option, is sort of a deal breaker. And that's probably because the Duke 250 does not get the bigger 320mm rotor as its elder sibling. And the lack of stopping power, combined with its increased weight over the 200, is a bit of a letdown, especially when you run additional load while touring. I'm almost convinced that the Duke 250, combined with the option of ABS, would make it a viable choice for a whole bunch of new buyers. It also offers a lot more juice than the Duke 200 without the woes of its elder sibling. It is quite comfortable to ride on city roads as well as for the long haul. What the Duke 250 does need though, along with the option of ABS, are sintered pads, and for the flat spots to be removed, to really own the niche it has carved for itself.
कशाबद्दल टाकतात?
अनरजिस्टर्ड व्हेकल
ऑन टेस्ट
ऑन टेस्ट फॉर्म 19
हो
नवीन मॉडेल लॉन्च केला का?
हो ते मीडियासाठी दिलं ना मला चालवायला टेस्टिंगला आलो.